Alright everybody, welcome back. So here we have the MiG-21Bis, and I've been planning on making a video on this thing for quite some time, but something just forced my hand. So you may remember I recently made a video on the MiG-23ML series, the ML, the MLA, the MLD, and how they were all overperformed by a substantial margin, and Gaijin is going to go ahead and nerf those. It looks like this coming update. Well, the same guy that did the bug report for the MiG-23s also went ahead and did one for the MiG-21Bis, and the devs came back and confirmed that yes, this will be getting a, nerf to its flight model. So it's getting around a 0.3 to 0.5 G reduction to its sustained turn rate at basically every speed according to them. That's most likely this upcoming update, and the thing is, that is going to have knock-on effects on the rest of the flight performance, and I'll get to that here in a second. The big thing is that the MiG-21Bis is not in a position like the MiG-23 where it has a very, very good flight model for the battle rating it's at. The MiG-23s are fast, yes, but when they have their wings out, they have excellent energy retention. They also have a really great kit as well. The MiG-21Bis, on the other hand, at 11.0 is actually fairly slow for the battle rating, and unlike something like the J7E, which is a little bit slower than it, but has absolutely incredible energy retention and dogfighting capability, the Bis is not in the same boat. It is a traditional delta wing, and as y'all are aware, what a delta wing does is when it pulls, it bleeds a lot of speed. This means that when you're sitting here trying to dogfight people, you are constantly shedding airspeed. This is useful if you're trying to get someone to overshoot, but in most other cases, and especially when you're in, say, a 16 versus 16 battle and you have a lot of people that you have to worry about, it can really, really hinder your performance. The Bis does have some pretty good acceleration to try and make up for that, but unfortunately, unlike the MiG-21 SMT, which does have the same speed bleed, but actually is at a battle rating where it can take advantage of that performance, the Bis is not quite so lucky. When fighting other 11.0s, it actually does fairly well, against stuff like, for example, F4Es and the like, but whenever it actually gets up-tiered and starts fighting 4th generation aircraft like the F-14, the F-16, the MiG-29, it has a very, very hard time actually keeping up. The Bis is actually airframe limited, and if you don't know what that means, essentially it means that the engine is strong enough to push it past its rip speed in a straight line on the deck, which, by the way, is at 1365 kilometers an hour. And so that means that almost anything at 11.0 or higher will be able to outrun you. Pretty much everything can go at least 1400 kilometers on the deck, except for the minor exception of, stuff like the J7E, for example, which is slightly slower. And that's not even talking about every time you have to move your nose to follow the enemy aircraft. Now, most of the time you're going to be bleeding more speed than whenever you're fighting. That's going to get even worse after this upcoming update, because typically how they go ahead and change the sustained turn rate of an aircraft is by increasing the amount of induced drag it generates whenever it pulls its nose around. So in addition to having, a worse sustained turn rate, the MiG-21Bis is going to have even higher energy loss in a turn. And it's not as if the weapons kit really makes up for it either. The R6CMs are pretty good for 11.0, and especially in a down tier when you face a lot of flareless aircraft, they will serve you well. But in the majority of your games, at least at the time of recording, you're going to be getting up tier 2, 11.7, at minimum most likely 12.0 every game. And every single vehicle in these lobbies is going to have flares. And of course the R6CM is a very flare-hungry missile. Now, it is more resistant than the R60, and sometimes it'll ignore flares fully rear aspect at close range, but it's not nearly as reliable as something like, the AIM-9L or the Python 3 in that regard. And the R6CM is also a very short-range missile. Now, it's incredibly agile, and you can do stuff like this right here where you throw it at close range. In this case, I'm fighting a flareless aircraft. I would do it at much closer range against a target that, is actually able to counter me with flares, but you still get the idea. It is a very quick, very agile missile, and so you can throw it at, less than a kilometer ahead, and a lot of the time people won't be able to rack in time to flare it. Now, you do also get the option of running R3Rs. I would just never take those realistically. You're not going to be getting pretty much any shots against people with those missiles at these battle ratings. They're pulse SAR missiles, which means they'll go for the first little spot of chaff, and your radar is also really poor for the battle rating as well. I would either run 6 R6CMs, or if you're going to do what I'm doing, run 2 R13Ms as well. These are rear aspect only missiles, but they do actually have more range than the R60, and they can have better flare assist as well, because they have a smaller field of view on the missile. Now, they have the same flare resistance as stuff like the AIM-9J and the Magic 1 and the like, so they're not super flare resistant, but against hot targets like the F4S, for example, if you fire them at close range rear aspect, you're going to get some pretty decent flare resistance out of them. Unfortunately, though, going back to the Matchmaker, I just haven't gotten that many opportunities to use it because most of the games I have been getting in have been 12.0. Almost every single game I have been fighting F-16s, MiG-29s, F-14s, and the like. And because you're 11.0, when you're in those 11.0, 12.0 lobbies, if you get unlucky, you can actually face a full team of F-14s because of the way quantitative matchmaking works. If y'all don't know, Gaijin does limit the amount of vehicles that are, a full battle rating above you that you can see. So of course, a game is going to be a 1.0 battle rating spread. If you're in an 11.0, 12.0 game, you can only fight up to 4 12.0s. So even though, of course, 4 F-16s are still going to absolutely ruin your day, at least in that case, you don't have to worry about facing an entire team of F-16s. On the other hand, the F-14 is 11.7, and you can see an entire team of them. That brings me to one quick unrelated point. Gaijin really needs to go ahead and add some kind of a feature that actually equalizes the amount of every battle rating is on every team. Let's say, for example, you're on a team and your team has 6 11.0s. The enemy team should also have 6 11.0s. You shouldn't be able to face, a full team of 11.7s with a full team of 11.0s, in my humble opinion. I think that is just terrible for balance and terrible for gameplay, especially with how insanely compressed these battle ratings are. Like, this F-16 is only a full battle rating above me, and there's realistically nothing I can do here. I get to slam another 11.0, but then this F-16 is just 180 behind me, and he does literally everything better than I do. He has a better kit, he has a better gun, and he has insanely better flight performance. He's both faster than me and has better low-speed performance. And there's no guarantee that my team is going to have any of those 12.0s to actually go ahead and counter him. I'm going to be totally honest with y'all, I had a miserable time recording this video. It's not the worst I've had. The F4J UK was the worst experience I have ever had recording a video, which is why you haven't actually seen one, because I actually gave up making it. But this has not been an enjoyable experience at all, and it's only going to get even worse with this upcoming update and with the flight model changes. So I'm going to make a bold prediction. I have a feeling this thing is going to go down a battle rating to 10.7. It really doesn't need to. They need to decompress instead, but Gaijin seems to be allergic to that, because something queue time. So we're most likely going to be seeing 10.7 MiG-21Bis. 9.7s are going to have a fun time fighting against 6 R60Ms. Because even if the performance isn't the greatest, at 10.7, it would be absolutely insanity, especially when you're fighting a bunch of flareless planes. Because even against planes with flares, you still get a lot of people just like that right there, like I was talking earlier. In any case, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and thank you for popping in. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and hopefully this helps some people that were thinking about buying that premium, just so they know what they're getting into ahead of time. I'll catch y'all next time, so peace, y'all.